So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Friday, June the 4th, 2021. And our calling number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. I'll give Michael just a moment to get dialed in to India this morning, and we're really close. Hopefully over the weekend we'll get it all finished, and by Monday morning we will have working apps. And after that gets going, and I'm just about finished with some of the broken links on the website, so that's going and just moving right along. So we appreciate your holding us in the space and support, and hopefully all these things will be just trucking along at high speed come Monday. We don't have the baby today, so I've spent a big part of the day doing computer stuff, and as I did yesterday. And let's see where Michael is. I invite you to go to the website. It's still www.whyagain.org, and it's just a whole new look, but it is the same link. And you can still go to the Start Here button or the bullseye or any of those. They're still on there. It just looks a little bit different, and I appreciate your comments. You can write me at jeannie@whyagain.org and let me know if you find something that needs to be fixed, or give me your opinion. Always appreciate that. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Delighted that you're here to be part of this conversation in this crazy world as it moves forward with its exacerbating conflicts and insanity. It definitely is a wonderful stimulus to give each person an opportunity to clean up the mind of conflict in them. And of course, the mind of conflict has always got somebody else to blame. It does its behavior, but somebody else is the problem. And they're the vicious minds, the attacking minds go on with their attacks and talk about how, well, it's all your fault that I'm doing it, so what's the matter with you? And we find that the mind of carbon-based memory, you go back to Yeshua, and he talks about carbon-based memory. He talks about his father who was from above, and then he talks about your father who's from below. And he says, your father is a liar. There is no truth in him. He uses the language of lies. And words are keys. We're working on responsibility communication and just lots of things opening up in that regard. And Yeshua just, in essence, told people, if you're coming from carbon-based memory, you're coming from the past, your mind's telling you a lie, the indicator that will be there will be your behavior, your words will be based in hostility and fear. And, of course, he brought us a tool. Few choose to use the tool, few are interested, because what they're interested in is satisfying their father, which is, as Yeshua said, is a liar. The mind bringing up from carbon-based memory information from the past and pretending it is present in the moment is obviously a lie. I mean, it's so simple and so straightforward. And yet, if one trusts that liar, then they believe that the hostility and fear that the mind is projecting onto someone else with the greatest or the slightest reasons is all somebody else's fault. And, it's over the centuries has destroyed millions and millions and millions of people. And if you look at the rhetoric that's going on today, we may be in for another round of insanity. So, time for a wake-up call. Time to recognize that if our mind is guiding us out of energies that are off, put a check mark on the right-hand side of the line. Every time you hear a word that's actually based in and reflective of love, put a check mark on the left side of the page. 2-3 minutes on each channel, and just sit there for an hour. Flip, 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 station to station. And mark. Hostility and fear words, check mark on the right side. Words based in love, check mark on the left. Guess what? It's interesting. People use that device to babysit their children. I'm appalled when I listen to, our Urain likes to watch cartoons, of course, little kid. But I'm absolutely appalled at some of the messages there. There's one in particular, really cute little cartoon characters, and kid is in the cabinet eating sugar. And the cartoon father comes in and says, "Oh, Johnny, whatever your name is, are you eating sugar?" And he's standing there with a bowl in his hand and a spoon in his mouth. And he puts the bowl behind his back and says, "No, Father, no." And the whole thing goes through. I mean, they're just modeling for kids lie. And it's just like, it's mind-boggling that this is a kids' cartoon on a kids' station. Teaching children to lie. I mean, it's just so silly. It goes through this person, the little boy, the little girl, the father, in the sugar. The kids come in, "Oh, got you. Are you in sugar?" "No." What if we had modeled for us? And actually, in that passage I referred to earlier, when Yeshua talks about your father is the father of liars, one source of information comes from above, being, the mind of being, which in Aramaic was called the mind of Christ. The other comes from carbon-based memory, the past, below. And he says, you watched your father do this. That's how you learned it. It's the power person dynamic. And we've been taught that our safety lies in hostility and fear. And that's the God we turn to. You just watch the average person is stressed, especially, and even the person who talks about their love of God and their churchianity and all of that. But when their mind is stressed, they turn to their real God. And it's the language of hostility or fear, what they watch their power person do. And so this work is about cleaning that up, being done with it. Richard was engrossed in his thoughts. He says it's almost like what we're here to do. And the thoughts of the generation don't cut it. Generations and generations and generations of all kinds of crazy antics are what most people live out of. And so we're here to stand in the willingness to move back to love. So we're honored and delighted that you're here to have this conversation with us today, to bring your applied knowledge, to bring your insight, to bring your questions to the table so that individually and collectively we can each build the brain cells for living differently than the generations have done. So welcome to the conversation. Delighted that you're here. Ms. Jeannie, do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No, it's quiet on both fronts.
Well, if you're out there in listener land, our calling number is 563-999-3581. Push 1. That puts you in queue to have a conversation, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you listen to one of those stations where we can't hear you, where we can't see you in our control panel, if you dial into that number, 563-999-3581, we will be able to have a conversation. If you're out there in listener land, how can we support you? What's on your mind? Not everybody at once, though.
We have a hand up.
All right, let's say hello.
314, you're on the air. Who do we have?
Hey, Michael and Jeannie, Doug here.
Hey there, good sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Or afternoon, rather. I guess
yes.
Even more afternoon for you, isn't it?
So how do you be?
Okay at the moment. I just wanted to just kind of go more into that. I just think it's such a powerful statement that you made. I've heard you make it a few times now about how the survival mind can keep you alive for a short time but kills you, and the mind of love keeps you alive. I just think that's just so intriguing, and I guess I kind of want to dive into it a little more.
Sure.
It seems like it's clearly true, and sort of like an embodiment of the phrase, that sin leads to death and so on. It's like being anywhere other than, the mind of God would. But I don't know, I'd be interested in anything else you'd want to say about that, how it is that the survival mind is the mind of the past, right?
Correct.
And
when go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead. Yes, you were starting it.
Well, I was going to say that when you realize that perception is a construct, the world has taught us that we have a set of windows called eyes, and we look out through our windows and we see the world. Well, any kind of applied intelligence there tells you that's obviously a lie. The TV antenna receives a signal, feeds into the TV, and you see the picture in the TV. But the TV's not looking out through the antenna at some program that's hanging there in the sky and watching it. There's a signal that comes in. The TV decodes the signal and reflects it as picture and sound. Our eye is a one-way device. It is not a window. It is not a two-way device. You can't see out of it. Information comes in, light energy comes in, and according to what that light energy resonates in us, one person stands connected to love, and an argument starts, and the person who's connected to love, the mind of love, rather than the mind of hostility or fear, takes a breath and says, we could resolve this conflict and move somewhere else. That's what the mind of love would do. The mind of hostility or fear is like, yeah, let's get them. Let's get into that fight and argument. Because one's perceptual construct comes from below, carbon-based memory, hostility and fear world, which most people live in. The other mind comes, as Yeshua said in that particular passage, I think it's in John 8, and he talks about, my mind comes from above. And
right.
And that's where he goes on to say, and your mind comes from below, and it's a liar. It's the father of liars. There is no truth in it. And so when you realize that anything from the past stored in carbon-based memory that is resonated into activity and pretends it is a present moment event has to be a lie. So obviously if we're either living in truth or living in a lie, if we're living in a mind connected to love or living in a mind connected to hostility or fear, we're either going to get really good, high-quality, accurate guidance, or we're going to get some pretty poor advice. One mind's going to give us some poor advice, and one mind's going to give us some very powerful and empowering advice. So obviously survival is going to be better, and thriving is going to happen if I've got high-level, good-quality perception. If I've got low-quality hostility and fear-based perception, the advice coming from my mind is probably not going to be very good, and I'm probably not going to survive very long, and I'm certainly not going to thrive. That's one perspective on it. The other perspective is just energetically. When you realize that this body-mind unit is an energy system, if we listen to Einstein, he talks about how, in regard to matter, he says, we have been all wrong. What we have heretofore called matter is energy, energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses, there is no matter. So he's saying we don't live in a material world. The world of pictures is the world generated out of carbon-based memory content, and it looks like we're looking through our eyes at it, but we're obviously not. So what is happening? Something from the past, by a current moment event, is resonated into activity, and that something produces a perceptual guidance system, a reality based in the past. Obviously has to be false for the present moment. It might resemble what happened yesterday, but it's not what's going on now. It's not what's going on today. So one set of energies relative to the human system is hostility and fear. And, if we go back to recognizing that human life is the created essence of love, then hostility or fear is not. And if hostility and fear is what's moving in a device that's designed for love, it's obviously going to be a toxic energy. It's not going to keep it in very good shape. And so both from the energetic perspective and from the guidance that we get, we're either going to live or we're going to destroy ourselves. And so, to me, it's a pretty simple, straightforward thing. The problem is that generationally, we've had so many generations of ancestors, and all you have to do is look at how did mom and dad do it? Were their words primarily based in love? Were their experiences, were their expression, was your expression with mom and dad, you were just able to be totally safe and secure and receptive to the presence of love always because you were just supported? That's the way it is. How it's designed to be. If that wasn't where one's life was lived, then probably it was hostility and fear, have to be on guard, always a lot of sadness, always a lot of pain, always a lot of blame, and you're usually the one by the power person who's being blamed for the content or the condition of their minds. Look what you've done to me. And so one who lives with all that modeling is going to tend, when they're not under stress, we were talking about the power person dynamic yesterday, when not under stress, it's easy to step into, oh, I love you, this is wonderful, aren't we having fun? But the minute that stress goes up, which means a goal has been violated, one who is living connected to the mind of love, higher guidance, is getting all kinds of wonderful input and guidance, and things are rocking and going well. But the minute that somebody in the environment or oneself violates a goal that's held, then that goal causes stress to go up. And the shift takes place from the mind connected to love to the mind connected to hostility and fear. And now somebody's languaging hostile and fear, in 1 second, say, oh, yes, I love you, which, of course, is a fraud in itself because love is a state of being. It's not what we do to each other. But let's say accurately, I'm here living as the presence of love, but I have some old hostilities and fears in carbon-based memory, and if you don't fulfill a goal I have for you, whatever the goal is, it can be the simplest, subtlest thing, then the survival mind comes in, the lower brain comes in, and up comes that survival mode. And along with that survival mode, the advice that comes is, I need to attack you, for most people, or I need to protect myself from you, or I need to run away, or I need to convince you that you're the problem in my life. And so up comes a hostility and fear-based world. And in that state, everything contracts in physiology. In particular, they're microcirculatory vessels that are 1/10 the width of a hair or less. There are about 60 billion of them in each human form. And each of those vessels are controlled by a set of muscles at the head of the capillary. And when one goes into an uptight situation, what does that mean? It means that those muscles have contracted. They're tight. And when they're tight, they close down the flow of blood into the capillary. And the only way that oxygen nutrition gets delivered to a cell and waste get removed from a cell is when those muscles are open and blood is flowing. And so physiologically, hostility and fear is a dangerous place to live. It shortens life. Although, again, if a saber-toothed tiger is coming and I need to run from the saber-toothed tiger, it might make my life longer to be in that state because my muscles are tense and taut and I'm ready to rock and run. But that's a good thing. That's a survival mechanism, and it's there. But if I live in the city where, oh God, there's so many dangers and insanities and poverty and suffering and pain, and one lives in that sympathetic dominant state continuously, the cells don't last very long if they're not getting blood flow, if they're not getting oxygen nutrition. And if the waste products of metabolism in the cell, which are all pretty much acidic, are left in the cell and not properly removed, then we got somebody that's in a lot of trouble.
Very good. Yes.
So from every perspective, to me, that just is becoming clearer and clearer.
Yeah, and that's great because it also is helpful that you added in that part about how it can be beneficial in the short term, running away from the saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah,
but it's
if there's
almost
no saber-toothed tiger there and I'm running continuously,
right,
then we've got difficulty.
All right. Well, I think that feels like a useful expansion of that for me and a deepening, and probably that's what I needed to ask. So thank you, Michael.
Well, I suspect that it probably fits perfectly with some of the work that you do in what you've identified as higher brain learning, lower brain learning. It's probably just exactly in alignment, I would suspect. I don't know a lot about it, but I would suspect it fits perfectly.
No, it is. It certainly is. As I think I heard, I think it was Dr. Tim saying recently how all these different systems of healing, they have certain common roots, certain common ideas. And I just recognize that I hear a concept particularly expressed in a particular way from you from time to time, and I hear it, and it feels really concise and powerful and like it's just the tip of an iceberg of a huge file I'd like to create and understand, and that's what you're saying. I think how you said it was something like a survival mind will keep you alive for a short time, but will kill you in the long run. Or,
right.
And that's just so. Whereas the mind of love will bring you into thriving and living, and that's it's like to really, really understand that because I think we've been so conditioned into thinking, if I'm not hostile and fearful, I will die. That the world's going to get me, and I've got to be in that condition to defend myself, and that's the state of mind I need to be in to figure out how to manage my life appropriately.
It's an exact reversal.
And all of that is untrue, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at John 8:34 right now, a couple of passages, let me share them. Here's Yeshua, our comment, the thing we've been talking about in this chapter of the book is sin, and that in Aramaic, the word simply means energy that's off the mark. And anything that comes from, as I said earlier, he says, from below is off the mark. So here's what he's saying to the group of Pharisees that have gathered. Verily, verily, I say to you that whoever committeth sin, that is, engages in an energy of hostility or fear that's off the mark, is the servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the Father's house forever. So we're going to either live in energies that are off the mark, or we're going to live connected to love. And he says, the Son, he says, I'm in this other mind, you're in the lower mind, I'm living out of the higher mind. He says, but the Son abideth there forever. If that Son, therefore, shall make you free. In other words, if you've got my tools, what I'm really telling you, if you understand, if you've got the brain cells for what I'm saying, and believe me, the theologians will take you in 1,000 different directions that the people who don't want to do their work aren't going to say, here, let me show you what this guy meant about doing your inner work. He says, If that son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. And he goes on to say, I know that, and, he's talking to the Pharisees who proclaim Abraham. He says, I know that you are Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me because my word has no place in you. So his word's based in love. There's no room in this mind of hostility and fear, this survival mind. He says, I speak that which I've seen with my Father, which is love, and you do that which you've seen with your father. They answered and said, but Abraham is our seed. He says, if you're Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. What did Abraham do? You look at all the conflicts that Abraham guided the world through. And what did he do? He ended conflict after conflict. He stopped wars. I think it's amazing. There's this wonderful movie, if you haven't seen it, called Abraham. In fact, I just realized I should watch it again. He says, if you were Abraham's children, you'd be doing his works. But now you want to kill me. A man who's told you the truth which I heard directly from love. This Abraham did not do. You do the works of your father. And they said to him, but we are not born of fornication. We have one Father, which is God. And Yeshua says to them, if God were your Father, you would be loved. You would love me, for I proceeded forth and come from love. Neither I came of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my thought? They have no brain cells. He says, why do you not understand my thought? Because you cannot hear my words. Your mind has been so filled with hostility or fear. The truth has no place in you. And you watch somebody whose response is always hostility and fear and blame. There's no room for truth because that's not what they have brain cells for. And the work that needs to be taken is insane. It's a huge amount of work. He goes on to say, and remember that Satan in Aramaic means the resistor, one who misleads. He says, you are of your father, the devil, the resistor, the one who misleads, and the lusts of your father you will do. In other words, your hostility and fear-based mind wanted somebody to blame, somebody to fight with, struggle, survive. And he says, so you'll do the lust, that which your father wanted to do. And then he talks about how it causes death. He says, he has been a murderer from the beginning and abode not in truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, then he's he of his own, for he is a liar and the father of liars. But because I tell you the truth, you don't want to hear it. You believe me not. He goes on to say, well, which of you can say you saw me commit sin? Which of you can say you saw me did something off the mark? He goes on and he says, if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? He that is of love hears love's words. You therefore hear them not, because you are not of love. And there's a mind of hostility or fear that always has to have a conversation about somebody else, that always has to put the problem, their blame, somebody else is the problem. Here, no, we don't want to talk about me. Let me talk about the real problem in my life. It's that person over there. It's my boss. It's my neighbor. It's my spouse. It's my parent. It's all somebody else's fault. And, the whole conversation is just so clear when you've got the brain cells for it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah.
And then he goes on. Such a powerful statement. Verily I say to you, if a man keep my word, what was his word? We said, what was the first thing you have to do? You have to function as love. He shall never see death. And yet, what do most people do when they're under stress? They have no interest in a conversation about love. They want to find somebody to blame and prove that it's all their fault. If a man keeps my word, he shall never taste of death. And, and when he's talking about his words, he's not talking about his ego self, which so much of churchianity has chased down. If I honor myself, my honoring is nothing. But what does most of churchianity do? They don't want to honor his words, talk about what he said. In fact, when he tells them what they need to do, they say too hard a saying and leave. And then they go out and create a theology that says, well, there's nothing you can do. You just have to believe, and then you'll be free of your insanity, which is pretty bizarre thought. So he's talking about, love, the Father, the Creator. He said, but you've not known him. I've known him. And if you should say, I know him not, I should be a liar like you, but I know him. Keep his word. I mean, it's just such a powerful passage to realize that when we've got the brain cells that he's talking about, not external things, he's leading people back to the source of their thinking, which is what he calls the Father. And, you look at those who want to create this exclusive club, and Yeshua talks about our common Father, our Father, but those who are the club are like, no, he's the special, only begotten, and he's the only one that can get in the club, and you can never get there, and the rest of the conversation degrades from there.
Indeed. Mm.
It's a good read, John 8. Reading it with the brain cells of the work as opposed to, talk about devils and have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. You look at that other passage, goes back and what does Yeshua say? You who having ears don't hear. Is your dedication, no matter what this person in front of you is doing, fulfilling or breaking all the goals you have for them, is your Father, is a source of your thinking, love or hostility and fear. And forgiveness means you have to give up the whole other conversation. The one that's about what they did and how they're wrong. If only they would do the right thing. If only they'd fulfill all my goals, then I could be happy. No, if only you would connect to the power of love, then you'd be happy. And each person who's willing to do that, well, it's the key to the proper power supply for the human cell, which means now we have thrival instead of survival. And it's like, to me, it's kind of like what's getting clear to me is that we've got the developmental phase that's happened, and it's gotten millions of people to being quote unquote what appears to be alive, and now it's time to start to listen to the higher mind, the higher guidance, and follow that. Really, truly have honor for that conversation, rather than getting lost in the conversation based in hostility and fear, blame and lies. Definitely takes some work.
Indeed, it does. Yeah, thank you. That's great. I someone else call in now if you have someone else. Otherwise, I could. Yeah. Okay. So take care.
If you've got another thought, hey, we're with you. If you've got another thought, that's what we're here for. So go for it.
No, I think I'm good for now. Thank you, Michael.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Sweet. All right. Appreciate you. Have a blessed one.
Sure. Mm-hmm. You too.
All right. So it looks like we've got about 18 or so minutes left. I'll call a number. If you're on one of those stations where we can't see, 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you're listening to the show, push 1, and we'll have a conversation. And I'd like to have a conversation with you. What's on your mind? Miss Jeannie, do we have anybody out there in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in your chat room?
No, it's all quiet.
Well, who's out there that's thinking to themselves, I could push 1 and ask my question? then here we are. This is the time to do it. How can we support you? What's on your mind in regard to these tools? And we're hearing the keyboard in the background. Really loud.
Oh, sorry.
Well, maybe we don't have any questions today, or any other questions today. We do have about 20 minutes. I'd love to.
We had a hand go up.
Oh, great. Let's say hello.
805, you're on the air. Who do we have?
Yeah, this is George.
Well, hey there, young man. Good to hear your voice.
To be able to, get on, and as always, Julie's a big help. I had problems navigating on the computer, so she sent me the link by telephone, which I'm real grateful for. But what I got really aware of yesterday is that with all these health issues going on and other issues in my personal life, it was brought to my attention that I'm letting all the things go that raises my energy, and I'm doing all the things that I should not be doing. I started watching the news again, and I'm not, I do a course of love and some other things online. I've not done that. I've postponed the worksheets, and now that I'm ready, I don't even have ink in the printer, so it's like I kind of sabotage myself in a way. But what I realized, yeah. But I'm really aware of it now, and I'm just making a real effort to turn things around, because I know that's what I need to do to heal, because I'm trying to heal, but all my energy's going to all these other things. It's getting used up by negativity, and I still have the faith, but we have a saying in AA, faith without works is dead. And that's kind of like, where I feel a little bit right now. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and because every time I share, it's more of a commitment for me, to turn it around. And I want to turn
it around. Definitely the way to build the brain cells.
Yeah.
Let me check and see if I understood your early comment. Some of the links that I've sent to you, because they've come in by text on your phone, you're not able to open on your computer? You're having trouble with them?
No, I just, I have sometimes 2 doctor appointments and a nurse in one day. Every day, it's something, either nurse or physical therapy, or, I have to have a phone appointment, and then I have dialysis. I got to get ready at 3, and that's the rest of the day. So I just, it's hard, because I guess I fell into a place where I want to, and I'm trying, but it's like I was paddling as fast as I could, but not getting any place. Now I realize that, but I'm not sure if I should just go back to, try to reclaim some of the stuff I was doing that made me feel good, or if if there's something else I could be doing.
Well, my input would be, just take every tool you've got and make the space to apply it. And, as questions come up, we're here to support.
I know that.
my thought is with your printer being a problem, you might, maybe there's a Kinko's or a FedEx copy shop or something like that nearby. You can just grab the file and email it to them. I know that Office Depot, if you call your local Office Depot store, they'll give you an email address to send the file to. So you can just grab the worksheet offline, send it, and they'll print it and pick it up in an hour.
All I got to do is go get ink, but I guess I've been sabotaging myself that way too, and I don't feel like I've been beating myself up, but I'm not doing what I need to be doing. That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And
we found that Amazon has a generic ink that we buy that works really well. And it's about a tenth the price of what the local office supply store is. So you might just order it on Amazon. Look at your printer. And look at the reviews on it. You have it a day or two.
I did order day before yesterday. I mean, but I'm just I just need to be more aggressive in my recovery and less with the negativity, the arguing, the fights, the problems with the other half.
Well, what I've found is that the other half isn't the factor. It's yourself. If you choose to enter into a fight, that's your issue. And if you choose to refrain from that and cultivate your relationship with love and stay connected with love, then that's your prerogative.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps rather than thinking, languaging about how something or somebody out there is doing it to you, just start to realize that if you're doing it, it's because you're doing it. And, I don't know if you were on the show yesterday by chance, but it was a wonderful testimonial by Susan who, acknowledged, she created through her own action a car accident. And were you listening yesterday when she was talking?
No, like I said, I've let everything go except that one Sunday morning ACOA meeting and one NA meeting like every other week. Something always comes up. And, I see now I'm just using that as an excuse. But at the time, it seems so real.
Yep. Well, and that's the truth. And it is. It's a reality that's very compelling when there's a lot of emotional energy behind it, or avoidance, or, whatever the dynamics are. But what Susan was saying yesterday was that, she said, when I was younger, she said, I would actually knock my head. I would physically knock my head on a window or a wall because of what I did. And she realized that through her own carelessness, she created an accident, and she was able to stop and just go, oh, look what I've done, and be gentle and loving and caring with herself. And so maybe it's time for George to begin to be more gentle and loving and caring with himself. Because I know that the energy that promotes healing is the energy of staying connected to love. The energy that reinforces and creates disease is the energy of hostility or fear. And the power of choice is yours. Although the mind, remember, the mind of carbon-based memory makes decisions. There's no choice in the mind. If you've got certain brain cells for something and I provide a stimulus to fire those brain cells are going to fire, and they're going to tend to cause your mind to lean in the direction of a certain decision. And when you do the work of forgiving, weakening those things that seem to force you into a certain decision mode, and you strengthen the ability and cultivate your relationship with love, then you strengthen the presence of love in you, and that mind starts to take over. There are two minds there. You know, in the ancient languages, they talked about the mind of the body, Adamos, the red clay, and they talked about the mind of what was called the mind of Christ. And there's nothing mystical or religious about that. It's just the mind of love in you is there, and the mind of hostility and fear is there. Which one are you going to listen to? So I'm here to support you, cultivating your ability to listen to the mind of love in you. And really make that the energy that fuels your physiology.
I know you are, and you've done that for me more than many times now, and I really appreciate that.
Well, we're here to continue the support, sir.
Well, I plan to, as soon as the ink comes, and I did order it yesterday, as soon as the ink comes, I have one worksheet I haven't written on, and that's my next step.
Cool.
I've not tried on the computer because the computer is a nightmare for me. Just, anything at this point, because last time I was in the hospital, I don't know what I did, but everything crashed. My computer, my telephone. It took me a month to get to get it back.
Oh.
So, yeah, and that was hard. So now I'm just going to wait a couple more days, and then I know Julie will help me once I get started, or we'll do some together, and that makes a big difference. To me, it does.
Right.
So, yeah.
So do you have access to your computer now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
But I tried to find the link to go as the meeting. It had already started by, 2 or 3 minutes, and ever since then, I kept trying until like 10:34, and then I got the link from Julie by phone. So to her, I'll try to get somebody to help me get the link so I can use it more readily on the computer.
Okay. Well, I am in the process as we speak. And your email address is the Hotmail address that I've got?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just sending you a copy of the worksheet, a link to it.
Okay.
So you've got that if you need it. And I'll include in it the phone number for the radio show.
I'm sorry, I was talking. What was that, Michael?
I'll send you a link to the phone number for the radio show, so you've got that handy.
Okay. And can you send me a link over the computer so I can go on by computer?
Yep. I think it'll be supportive. You just go through and click those links and start watching.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate it. I can't put it into words because it was a real crossroads in my life. Everything changed all at once.
No. Well, I just sent you an email with a link to go to download the worksheet or print it, and the radio show number is right there in the title. And then I sent you an article I'm working on forgiveness, and there are, a dozen or more links in that. And of course, remember that the app is there. If you and there's a new piece in the app, you need to just set it up so that there's a new section.
That has not been uploaded
Oh, that's right.
yet.
Still not activated. Right. Okay. I keep losing a piece of information. Do we have any idea when it's going to be?
We're hoping to have both of them done over the weekend, so they should be active by Monday, but we'll see how it happens.
Oh, sweet. Cool.
Well, I look forward to it, Michael.
All right, sir. Well, know that we're holding you in a blessing. And any other thoughts? Anything else we can support you with?
I just want to thank Jeannie, too, because she's definitely, been a big help. So thank you, Jeannie.
Well, thank you for saying thank you, and you're welcome and deserving.
Great. Okay. I'm going to get off now. How do I get off on the telephone?
The disconnect button?
Oh, okay. That is that you mean to end the phone call?
Yeah.
I can mute you from this end, George, and you can keep listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're just down to the last minute or two as well. So.
Thank you. Bye now. Have a great.
All right. Blessings and love. Tell Michaela we send our love too. All right, we're down right to the last minute or so. So everybody, we appreciate your listening ears. And if there's anything in particular that's been meaningful for you, when this show is complete, you can go to our website, whyagain.org, and you can click on the microphone, and that microphone will take you to a download of, 10 years of archives, thousands of shows. Go catch yourself another copy and give it a listen. Pass it on to somebody who might be interested, and create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Blessings.